Hello, welcome to this video on the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, a collection of teachings on spiritual awakening. Today we will see two verses on apparently two different topics: religious devotion or mystical devotion and perceiving an object. But you'll see how they are related. First one is 121, 121. First in Sanskrit. Bhaktiyudrekād viraktasya yādṛśī jāyate matiḥ śaktiḥ śāṅkarī nityam bhavayet tataḥ śivaḥ yādṛśī jāyate matiḥ. That sort of intuition, of state of mind that arises, viraktasya, for one who is detached, of everything, bhaktiyudrekād, because of an excess, because of a surge of divine love, of devotion, bhakti, to take part in, often translated as love, because you take part in that which you love. So that intuition or state of mind, that awareness, that state of consciousness that arises in one who is detached from everything, because of the power of devotion, because of an excess of devotion. śaktiḥ, that power, śaṅkarī, is the power of God, is the divine power. That power is divine. śaktiḥ śaṅkarī, that power that arises because of the power of devotion, the power of divine love, that produces such a state of mind, such an awareness, such an insight, matiḥ, that is divine power. Nityam bhavayet, one should evoke, one should cultivate her always, nityam, always, day after day, always. Bhavayet, one should realize her, because again, bhavana is the idea of paying attention to what is already the case, but which is not fully matured because of not paying attention. So there are two sorts of causes. There is the objective cause of the ordinary relationship of cause and effect, and there is the inner cause, the subjective cause of paying attention or not. So here it's a case of subjective causation. If I pay attention, if I don't pay attention, we have different results. Tataḥ śivaḥ, then one will realize oneself as being divine, So, and this is all because of bhaktiyudrekād, nityam, an excess of devotion, So here devotion is not about going to the church, doing a ritual, doing a pilgrimage, wearing special clothes, reciting prayers or mantra, singing songs of praise and the names of God. It's not that. Here, devotion means recognizing in me, in you, in consciousness, the divine. Recognizing that all depend on consciousness, and that consciousness does not depend on anyone else, on anything else. So you see, the commentator quotes a verse saying that napada patanam bhaktir. So divine love is not prostrating to the feet of a deity or a master or a guru. Vyapinaha parameshituhu bhaktir bhava sabhavanam tadeki bhava bhavanam. Real devotion is becoming one, the feeling of realizing oneself to be one with realizing the unity of everything, of all states, of all phenomena, of all feelings, of all emotions, with the Supreme Lord who is all-pervasive. And the Supreme Lord who is all-pervasive, there is only one, because there is only one pervasive reality, and that is consciousness, outside of which there is no reality or non-reality. There is no being or non-being. There is nothing real or unreal, concrete or abstract. There is absolutely nothing. And even that nothingness is within consciousness and exists only as an object for consciousness, through consciousness, by the light of consciousness, by that power to manifest that we call consciousness. Sa śaktiḥ śāṅkarī, that's the divine power. And real devotion is recognizing that fact. It is not creating an artificial feeling through singing, dancing, or whatever, even if on the spot it feels good, etc., but it has nothing to do with the real bhakti. The real bhakti is recognizing what is real, the fact, the power of fact. From that point of view, that tantric tradition of the philosophy of recognition is rather on the side of Vedanta, because it says that the real important topic, the real power, is the power of the reality itself. It is vastvantare. So Kashmir Shaivism, for some pretty good reasons, do not use that expression, but still it says that real devotion is devotion to what is, to reality, to the fact, is recognizing what is already the case, not creating, not inventing. So in that context, bhavana does not mean creating by imagination something which is not, but which could come to be. No, it is realizing that which is already the case, but which usually in daily, ordinary life we do not pay attention to. That's real devotion, that's real bhakti, that's taking part in reality. That's recognizing. Eki bhava bhavanam. It's realizing the identity, the oneness. Bhava svabhavanam, of the essence of everything. Vyapinah parameshituhu, with the all-pervasive Supreme Lord who is none other than consciousness, present consciousness. Just that, self-evident, self-shining. Because if it did not shine, nothing would. Everything shines along with that light. And that's it for that verse. The second one, 122, Sanskrit first. Apparently, it sounds very different. Vastvantare vedyamāne śanaih śūnyatā tāmeva manasā dhyātvā vidito praśāmyati. Vastvantare vedyamāne, when something else is about to be known or perceived. Shanaih, slowly, little by little. Śūnyatā, sarvavastuṣu. There is an emptiness with regard to other things, That is, when I perceive that tree, for instance, I'm looking at that tree. Well, the more I focus on that tree, on that perception, the more everything else becomes nothing, recedes into emptiness. This is apohana shakti, the power of exclusion. This is thanks to that I can perceive something and not just a chaos. I have that power to cut and to select and to exclude what I don't want to perceive. And like that only, I can pick up something and perceive it, excluding everything else. That's how I can listen to what someone is saying, even in a place crowded and full of noise. I have the power to extract the right information and exclude everything else. That power is apoha shakti, apohana. So that's one of the three main powers of consciousness, and it's very important. And we have already seen some aspects of it related to memory, etc., in the previous verses, not in this video, but in the previous video. So when I look at the tree, everything else becomes empty. All the other objects, the world, etc., disappear. When I am completely engrossed into some object, the whole world disappears. And so there is a kind of emptiness that comes about naturally. But usually, again, I do not pay attention to that fact, to what happens in my own experience. I'm looking for divine, special, extraordinary experience, but I'm not even paying attention to what's given in so-called ordinary experience. So, tameva manasā dhyātvā. It is to that emptiness itself that I should pay attention. I should give my attention. Tameva, that emptiness only, that very emptiness. When I look at the tree, everything else becomes empty. All the other contents are emptied. Vidito, even though perceived, that is, even though the object, here, the tree, is still perceived, known, continues to be known, I continue to see the tree, praśāmyati, I becomes peaceful, free from all fever. If I pay attention to that all encompassing, that surrounding awareness with regard to all other things except that tree, then I become attuned to that emptiness. Samapatya. I become attuned to that emptiness, and I realize myself, I recognize myself as empty. That is, as being not opposed to things, but as being free from everything, because I am the cause, the source of everything. And thus, even while seeing the thing, I become completely silent inside. So this is somehow related to so-called Shiva mudra, Shambhavi mudra, about which I have spoken several times, and which is the core practice, the core meditative practice in tantric yoga. So again, I'm looking at the tree and everything else disappears. And so I take advantage of that natural, ordinary phenomena to go into emptiness, to go into inner silence. I look at something, and that helps me to bring me effortlessly into silence. Now, what's the relationship between that verse and the previous one? Well, in the previous verse, it was all about divine love, but it's the same. whether I'm looking at a tree or whether I am contemplating God or some other spiritual reality, the same process happens. Because if I'm really focused, if I am completely into it, everything else disappears. The world goes. It's very simple. There is nothing more ordinary than that. And in all cases, there is that possibility, that door to emptiness, to the real emptiness, to the freedom of consciousness that opens, if only I am able to pay attention. So, here the commentary makes the connection with the previous verses. It was the verse 118, no. The 120. Tat jnanam chitta sahitam. When I know something and I move to something else, if I pay attention, chitta sahitam, then that awareness, tat jnanam, is the real deal, is the supreme, the free consciousness, the pure, naked consciousness. I had explained that last time. And here is the same practice, but instead of moving to another object and trying to become aware of the gap between the two objects, here there is no need to move. There is no need to do anything. Just keep the attention natural, but without moving from the object, become aware of the emptiness of all the rest, the empty space that surrounds, that pervades the object perceived, the tree, for instance. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.